Deep in a northern mountain range, a desperate scream echoed out. Who am I? Where the hell is this? This is my hand? There are even branches and leaves growing on my body. Help me. Oh God, somebody help me. A nearby rabbit overheard its cries and realized this thing used to be a human. He had been drowning, but when he opened his eyes, he found he'd been reborn as this willow tree. So from now on, no more hands to, do pull-ups with. I wanted to become a cool hero with a harem of big-breasted beauties. Boo-hoo. While he was busy wallowing in self-pity, 2 bees started buzzing around him. He immediately swatted them with a double kill, splitting the 2 of them into 4 halves. Asterisk, ding, asterisk. The system's voice rang out. Killed 2 bees, received 0.2 evolution points. To think he'd actually get a support system in this new world. Check information. He learned his name was Mutant Willow Tree, his host name was Uzio, and his lifespan was 0.1 out of 20 years. Photosynthesis earned him 0.1 point per day. Defeating other creatures would grant evolution points based on their difficulty. From then on, he diligently hunted small insects, and after half a month, he could control all 50 of his vines. He decided to try combining them into one. Twisting them together into a drill bit, he created a new move, the spiral drill. He aimed straight for a boulder in front of him and lunged. Although it didn't pierce through the rock, the force it generated was enough to deal a fatal blow. No work, no school, no need to eat, and not a single worry in the world. This truly was the life of a god. With nothing better to do, he decided to raise a flock of kestrels that were nesting in his crow's nest of a head and train them. Because in his time here, he'd realized there were countless mutated creatures like storm wolves, king kongs, axe-headed snakes, and hundreds of thousands of other dangerous species. He needed allies. Next, he evolved his roots, which grew quite thick and could even move. Sweet. Soon, he'd be able to run around freely like other isekai protagonists. The system showed him a fox, but it was heavily injured. Absorbing it wouldn't yield many points. So, he took the system's advice and secreted a fluid from his vines to heal it first. Just a moment later, the poison in the fox was neutralized. Now, time to feast. But then he saw its shimmering eyes and couldn't bring himself to kill it. Thanks to the tree's fluid, it had mutated into a red fox. It possessed mesmerizing eyes, and its fur burned like fire. How am I any different from a Pokemon trainer? This is cool as hell. Check information. The system reported that the red fox was at level 4, while he was already at level 9. If he kept evolving diligently, he might just become Marvel's Groot. While he was busy admiring himself, a young girl suddenly approached, set up an altar at the base of the tree, and knelt down to pray. It turned out that the girl's father was buried right under Uzio's roots. Unbelievable. I'm absorbing nutrients from. Nope, let's not think about it. That's too gross. After they were done, the 2 girls decided to go for a swim. Getting to see this makes this tree life totally worth it. After some time passed, dangers began to appear in the area. The kestrels, now at stage 3, were diving down to attack an enemy that was trying to approach Uzio. It was a stage 7 golden eagle with a deafening screech and talons as hard as alloy. In the blink of an eye, most of the kestrels were taken down by its shriek. Only the red fox was left, charging forward to attack, but it too was crushed by those powerful talons. Now, it was the willow tree's turn. It aimed straight for him, but before it could even touch him, the spiral drill pierced right through it, and it dropped dead. System. Mutated eagle eliminated. Received 70 evolution points. After the battle, he healed his beasts to prepare for a more dangerous assault. I have to get stronger. Suddenly, a sharp axe blade came crashing down from the sky, aimed right at Uzio. Dust and debris filled the air as the system blared continuous warnings. Roots destroyed, vines destroyed, heavy damage sustained. A truly devastating scene appeared before his eyes. It was a level 9 battle axe snake, with fangs and an axe head for weapons, and a passive ability of complete presence concealment. That's why he was ambushed without ever detecting its approach. A level this much higher than mine. I'm screwed. I still have 6 roots left, and 24 vines. Uzio ordered Little Red to fall back and then charged at the monster. At her level, the red fox was far outmatched and would only serve as fodder. He blocked the axe head with a root that cost him 69 evolution points, but it seemed the axe on its head was stronger. The snake tried to attack with its tail. But I've got more tails than you do. He shot out 3 roots, completely restraining it. He immediately used all his points to evolve his roots and crush it. This is my chance. Instantly, Uzio unleashed his spiral drill right into the monster's body. Get the hell out of my territory. The beast let out a pained roar and coughed up blood, but suddenly, he frowned, looking at the wound in disbelief. Damn it. It barely did anything. It was slicing through me like a hot knife through butter. But I can't even scratch it. Having taken a painful blow, it charged at Uzo in a frenzy. He used everything he had, unleashing all his roots and vines and aiming straight for its belly. He whipped it relentlessly. Unable to get close and facing a counterattack, the snake had no choice but to retreat and find easier prey. The battlefield it left behind was a scene of utter devastation. All the trees around Uzo were obliterated, and the ground was torn to shreds. After surviving that near-death experience, he collected himself, furious at his own weakness. That damn worm would definitely evolve after absorbing so much life essence. Meanwhile, half of his own branches and leaves were broken, and his core was cracked. If it came back, he'd better be ready to die all over again. Suddenly, the system reported, next title requires 10 evolution points. I must become stronger. I won't let this happen again. All at once, a surge of energy rushed in, instantly healing his broken parts. All his other functions began to grow non-stop. The kestrels and the red fox were still there, staying close to their master, never leaving his side. After a few hours of absorption, absorb and evolve. A notification window appears. UZU, species, mutated willow, age, 4 out of 200 years, evolution points, 51, level, 39. He looked at himself and saw that all his lost vines had regrown, and his trunk had grown a bit larger. The mutated red apple was at stage 7, and the mutated kestrel was at stage 5. It seems they were also affected by my evolutionary energy. He ordered his flock of little birds to find that damn worm. Instantly, the mutated kestrels shot off so fast they left only after images. Their speed could rival a bullet. This ability would allow them to pierce through lower-level creatures like golden eagles. It wasn't just the kestrels. The red fox also looked much larger. Suddenly, a desperate scream for help echoed from the distance. It was the two girls from the other day, running in a panic, followed by a cloud of dust that looked like a giant creature was hunting them down. In reality, it was a horde of different creatures, frantically chasing the two girls who were running for their lives. Did my evolution create this abundant energy that attracted them? You all came at the perfect time. He then ordered the red fox to charge out and take on the whole horde. With a single leap, the fox took down a wild boar twice its size. Entering its battle state, its fur bristled like fire while its eyes turned blood red. The beasts, still fearless, charged in with all their might. They were too numerous for a single fox, no matter how strong it had become. A series of golden flashes streaked past, piercing through them all before they could even react. Finally, the kestrels had returned just in time. Their forces were drastically reduced. Terrified by this overwhelming power, the rest of the horde didn't dare to get any closer. But they still lingered, unwilling to leave. Fine, red fox, kestrels, stand down. I'll show you bastards who the real boss of this land is. Come on, I'll take all of you on. Instantly, he pulled all his roots from the ground and took a defensive stance with his vines. Get ready for a beatdown. Seeing this, the provoked beasts charged forward to attack, each one frantically tearing at the prey before them. But no matter how strong you are, you'll just become my evolution points. Mutated hippo killed, 450 evolution points. Mutated rat killed, 420 evolution points. Mutated rhino killed, 430 evolution points. The system spammed notifications so hard it felt like it would crash. Every single beast that rushed forward was skewered by his roots and vines without fail. However, a few of the larger, tougher species could withstand a few blows from his roots, so he decided to keep and raise them, tightening his grip to restrain them. A moment later, they had all been completely subdued. The two girls were saved, but they were so terrified at the sight of the demon-like tree that they fainted. He still didn't know how to handle them. If he let them go, he was afraid his secret would be exposed and the military would come. The worst-case scenario, he'd be thrown into a zoo for a bunch of little kids to gawk at. Not enough? There's still another way. He waited for the two girls to wake up, then explained that he was possessed by the spirit of their father, using his roots to write on the ground. Highly suspicious of this demon tree, one of the girls cautiously asked if he remembered the secret she had told her father. The system can handle this. A status window appeared. The younger sister is He Xiaoling, 14 years old, has a crush on a boy from the next village. The older sister is Xiao Qing, also 14 years old, probably twins. She's already quit school to work and support her sister. Next, Ziyu used his vines to form a pair of magic wands and gave them to the two sisters. Though he didn't understand why he did it, Xiaoqing recalled when her father was still alive, dying on his bed, telling her to take good care of her sister. I will always be with you too. Now, she completely believed her father had truly returned, and she broke down, sobbing with emotion. And so, every day, the two sisters would come to talk with their father. Xiaoqing mentioned a newspaper article that said, a type of substance exists in the air, causing living creatures around the world to evolve. This information quite surprised him. He never thought the outside world had changed so much. Meanwhile, Xiaoling was feeding the animals he had captured and locked in a cage made of roots. At first, seeing the weak creature, they barked ferociously, but the moment the red fox stepped forward, they cowered, becoming as obedient as puppies. They obediently started to eat. Hey, little red, you're doing great. He also kept a stork and this stinky monkey. If he didn't tie them up, they'd cause a total ruckus. The buffalo, on the other hand, lay quietly, accepting its fate. Suddenly, a small but ferocious creature woke up and started screaming its head off. Turns out, it was a honey badger, the biggest gangster of the bunch. There's going to be a lot to do soon. He then opened his status window to check his information again. His mutated vines and roots had enough points to be upgraded, their effect, to produce a life essence that can help creatures evolve and heal. Hidden passive, potent regeneration after being injured. Among them, he noticed two standout passive abilities. One was fog barrier, creating a dense fog barrier to hide the user inside. The second was fog illusion, with vines that inflicted an illusion effect on enemies. He tried activating it, and suddenly, a thick fog rapidly spread out from him. It covered a vast area. Little red apple, father has disappeared, Xiaoqing called out in fear. I am behind you. It seems the closer you are, the stronger the illusion's effect. It was getting late, so he ordered the fox and the buffalo to take the two girls home, reminding them to keep this a secret, even from their grandfather. After the two of them left, he immediately began his second evolution. After one night, the evolution process was complete. But in return, it started attracting even more creatures here. Now, however, he didn't need to exert much effort. A single lash was enough to take down the entire mob of monsters. Currently, his roots had burrowed 100 meters deep, discovering groundwater and a cavern. The cave's structure was unclear, so he sent all his roots down to investigate further. Just then, the falcons returned to report that there was no sign of the axe-headed snake within a 100-mile radius. Keep searching for that bastard. It devoured half of my vines, so I can't let it get away. Around noon, the two little girls came to play again, bringing him some food, but the bald honey badger snatched it away. When did you get out? This time, I'll chain you up hand and foot. Although it struggled angrily, once it was fed, it calmed down a little. Just like that, the two girls gradually befriended and tamed the animals. Somewhere deep in the forest, a pair of gleaming, hateful eyes was lurking beneath the ground. It was watching everything. The next morning, the red fox came down the mountain again to take the two little girls into the forest to play. It seemed to have grown even closer to them than to Ziyu. Carrying the two girls on its back, it leaped nimbly over mountains and rivers. The younger sister was very happy today because she had prepared a gift for her father. Fertilizer made from grandpa's stuff. This gift seemed a little pungent, and so they ran deeper into the mountains. The older sister looked up. The sky was unusually gloomy, as if it were a bad omen. Just as she feared, a short distance away, the axe-headed snake was waiting for them. It now looked bigger, and its body was much more solid. It had probably evolved. Deep in the forest, a swarm of monster bees was being lured by the falcons towards Ziyu. They looked extremely ugly and terrifying. Seeing that they were close enough, he shot out his roots, intending to give their faces a little makeover. But he overdid it and split them clean in half. It took me forever to lure you guys here. Now, become my evolution points. In a flash, the entire ferocious swarm of bees was wiped out. Here, eat up, you little guys. He rewarded the falcons for their work. They were getting smarter every day. With plenty of nutrients, they had reached stage 7, while he had accumulated enough points to evolve his roots. The breakthrough process was so excruciatingly painful that you couldn't help but scream. As the roots emerged from deep within the earth, their outer layer of bark began to crack and split open. Like a snake shedding its skin, it revealed a strong, glossy black core inside. From there, countless smaller roots sprouted along the main ones. Then they grew larger than ever before. For just a level 2, this evolution was beyond imagination. It was painful as hell, like dying and being brought back to life. Alright, time for a test run. You commanded one root to shoot out, plunging straight into the ground and writhing with the ease of a sea monster. It was like diving through an ocean. The smaller roots were tasked with collecting signals, combining with the immense length of the main root. It was so long that no creature within a 10-kilometer radius could escape its grasp. Quite far away, a wild boar was in the middle of a romantic confession, when it too was snatched away by a root. The scene Ziyu had created looked like hell itself. Anyone who dares to trespass, I'll take them all on. He immediately created a barrier with his roots, marking his territory. This was to promptly detect and eliminate any unlucky monster that dared to intrude. Hasn't the red fox been gone for a while with the two girls? This made the hungry bald badger cry out loudly. Meanwhile, the monkey, having been well reformed, was now free to leap and play. Night had fallen. You ordered the eldest falcon to go find them, reminding it not to miss a single clue. Just as he finished speaking, something fell from above with a loud thud. It was the red fox, severely injured. It had used every last ounce of its strength to leap back to its master. He immediately transferred life essence into its body. The system announced that its body was recovering. Why did only you come back? Where are Xiao Ling and Xiao Qing? You asked in a panic as it nearly recovered. Suddenly, there was another loud thud as something else fell from the sky. It caught his attention. It was Xiao Qing. But what happened to her? Suddenly, his face darkened at the sight before him. That monster had arrived. It was the axe-headed snake. In its mouth, it held Xiao Qing, who now seemed lifeless. She wasn't moving, shooting a ferocious glare at Ziyu. Its eyes gleamed with killing intent. Then, it immediately tossed the little girl into the air, intending to swallow her whole, like a bear eating popcorn. "Stop it, you bastard!" he roared in agony. Quick as a flash, he shot a root straight into the monster's stomach, knocking it away along with little Xiao Qing. He then used another root to catch the girl, bringing her back to his domain. The axe-headed snake had absorbed Ziyu's vines. It had become stronger than ever. But still, a hole was punched right through it. It couldn't possibly pass up such valuable nutrients. This time, it was determined to take everything. This was an opportunity it had to seize at all costs, and it quickly slithered closer to Ziyu. Looking at the little girl, motionless and covered in grievous injuries, his heart ached with indescribable pain. "Life essence," he roared. Instantly, countless vines shot out towards Xiao Qing, sprinkling the essence all over her body. The system repeatedly blared notifications. Life essence added. No signs of life. 10 points have been consumed. Do you wish to continue? He growled that he had to continue. His heart burned with anxiety, silently praying for the little girl to wake up. The other animals were also extremely worried. They cried out in fear, hoping for her recovery. The system kept repeating, life essence added. No signs of life. This continued until another notification sounded. Remaining evolution points, 0. At that moment, back in the village, Xiao Ling was being cared for by a doctor. The red fox must have managed to bring her back, but when her grandfather asked, the doctor just shook his head. Our village's medical skills are limited. I'm planning to suck the poison from her stomach. A topographical map appeared, and he couldn't believe his eyes. There were 8 marked locations. This was far too many. Suddenly, the entire system turned blood red, blaring an alarm like never before. Supernatural energy detected, over 18,000. What the hell is this? This could be the end of the world. He stammered, his eyes glued to the terrifying message. Back in the deep forest, the battle axe snake began its attack. It had already taken down a white stork in its jaws. Sometimes, size determines a lot when it comes to fighting ability. Its next opponent, a ferocious black buffalo charging forward, was nothing more than a weak mosquito bite. Its diamond-hard horns were like an uninflated tire against the battle axe snake's scales. Too soft. Then, our friend the honey badger appeared. It quickly scrambled onto the snake's body, using its razor-sharp claws to slash repeatedly, determined to punch a hole through it. But it seemed to have no effect. It didn't even leave a scratch before the snake whipped its tail, swatting it away. And this was despite the badger being a stage 3 king of tenacity. But it refused to give up. If claws didn't work, it would use its teeth, immediately sinking them into the snake's body. It remembered the happy moments, eating with the 2 little girls, moments it feared would never happen again, driving it into a frenzy as it tore off a huge chunk. But it seems even the flashback power-up technique didn't work too well on this boss. Still, even as it was thrown off, it had to take a snake scale with it as a souvenir. You may be big, but my crew is bigger. Immediately, the wild wolf summoned its entire pack to tear apart the prey before them. This species was famous for its ambushes and tactics, so it wasn't long before the battle axe snake became their personal buffet. Some bit its body, some its snout, while others went for the eyes. But in the end, the snake coiled itself into a whirlwind, flinging them all away. None of them were a match for its overwhelming power, but they left a fatal wound, destroying one of its eyes. The red fox had now reached stage 8. This was its 4th time facing the battle-axe snake. The first time, it was like prey versus predator. The snake had injured it so badly it almost died. But now, things were different. It had grown much stronger, and now, all its pent-up rage was unleashed, manifesting as a blazing fire that surrounded it. The battle-axe snake was terrified of fire, so it lunged forward, trying to finish the fox in this battle. It knew that letting it escape would mean disaster later. The two beasts charged at each other, tearing and biting like mad. The snake's superior strength forced the fox to be wary of its dangerous head. The battle-axe snake was no pushover either, constantly ramming its head into the fox whenever it got close. No matter how clever the fox was, it was eventually caught by the snake and crushed by its massive, powerful body. Truly, it was no match for an enemy with so many years of combat experience. Suddenly, a golden streak shot forward. It was a falcon, a kamikaze warrior that had dived in just in time. Despite having grown much larger in size, its speed was even greater. It aimed straight for the snake's belly and shot in like a North Korean missile. The massive explosion made the snake roar in pain, forcing it to release the red fox as it was knocked back a great distance. Finally, its tough armor had met its match, pierced by a gaping hole. Thanks to the falcon's rescue, the red fox escaped, but it was severely injured. Following their leader, the entire flock of falcons dived in, posing a real threat to the battle-axe snake. With such a massive difference in speed, it could only wait. Projectile launch was an extremely powerful skill, piercing opponents by launching straight into them, from a great distance at incredible speed. However, it was a double-edged sword. Flying that fast caused their entire bodies to burst into flames. While this enhanced their attack power, they would also lose their lives if they failed to pierce the enemy. But the combined power of 8 falcons was another story entirely. They continuously launched themselves like bullets, embedding themselves in the snake's body, leaving it to do nothing but roar as it endured the assault. Everything in the falcon's path was shattered, creating terrifying shockwaves. However, just as feared, the falcons couldn't overcome the snake's evolved armor, and they began dropping like flies. But they were still determined to take the snake down with them. By now, the snake had collapsed, stunned. In the end, after so much sacrifice, bloodshed, and collapse, the battle-axe snake managed to stand up again, strangely strong. Though its body was covered in wounds, its rage was real, and it was determined to destroy the fox once and for all. Mustering all its remaining strength, it gave chase and lunged, its sharp axe head aimed straight at its opponent. But surprisingly, a glossy black object blocked the axe head just in time, saving the red fox's life before gently tossing the snake aside. Finally, "I've caught you." A powerful roar echoed out. A sky-high killing intent terrified the snake, making it feel tiny before the creature in front of it. Only now did it realize in horror that it had been tricked. The other creatures had used their bodies to lure it into a trap set by To-Do. It was being suffocated by tree roots. All resistance was now futile. Gathering all the roots into a gigantic fist, To-Do channeled all his fury and delivered blows that beat the snake to a pulp. Its once proud armor could no longer protect it. It was defeated. A notification panel appeared. Battle-axe snake defeated. Reward, 90 points. But what meaning did any of that have now? Xiao Ling and Xiao Qing would probably never come back. That very evening, the villagers rushed out in alarm when they heard a knock at the door. They suddenly saw Xiao Qing lying in the yard. It turned out the red fox had brought her body back to her grandfather. It watched over her for a long time before finally turning back. After the battle, To-Do thanked the creatures for risking their lives to help him fight the snake. "This monster is what the axe serpent risked its life for, so I'm giving it to you all. It will be a great help to you out there in the future." After absorbing the life essence, the creatures suddenly radiated a bright aura, and one by one, they all began to evolve. The mutated forest buffalo evolved to rank 3, gaining a new set of razor-sharp horns and enhanced strength in its forelimbs. The mutated wind wolf evolved to rank 5. Its lifespan increased by over 20 years, and it awakened the wind element, making it more agile and nimble. As for the badger, white stork, and golden monkey, there were no visible changes in their appearance. They only went up by 1 rank. It seems they didn't mutate. Suddenly, without a sound, they all voluntarily knelt before To-Do, willingly pledging to stay by the side of the man who had given them a new life. Overwhelmed with emotion, he began to cry, promising himself that he would train them to become stronger and protect them at all costs. Once that was settled, they all went to carry out their duties. The kestrel patrolled the skies, and the wind wolf patrolled the ground. The buffalo, white stork, and golden monkey cleaned up the battlefield, while the red wolf was in charge of guard duty. But that buzzard was the only lazy one, doing nothing but sleeping. No matter how much he was threatened, the stubborn brat would just squawk and argue back. It flew into a rage. Suddenly, a sphere of light appeared, emitting a brilliant golden glow. Looking closer, there was a girl inside. It suddenly shot forward, startling Tudu and putting him on high alert. He shot a tree root through the sphere, but it seemed to have no effect. It was immune to physical attacks. As it flew closer, he realized the girl looked just like Xiaoqing. It flew over and quietly settled at the base of a tree. What on earth just happened? He immediately pulled up its information. Her name was also He Xiaoqing, a mutated soul who possessed powerful psychic abilities. In other words, this was Xiaoqing's soul, which had absorbed the nutrients and instantly evolved in the open air. When she woke up, she was bewildered, having forgotten all her memories, not knowing who she was or who the person in front of her was. Your name is He Xiaoqing. You are important to me, so I won't let you die again. Suddenly, she clutched her head in pain. My head hurts so much. There's so much noise. It feels like a lot of people are surrounding us. Grandpa is here too. Who are they? Tudu thought. Her memories are in chaos after the amnesia. Now that Xiaoling is in a vegetative state, it's possible the two sisters' souls have merged. Two souls, one body. For now, it seems this soul hasn't fully stabilized. Let's see if the life essence can help. Sure enough, it calmed her down. He noticed her spiritual body had grown slightly larger. Now she could connect with her physical body, and she used her psychic powers to take him back home. On the bed, Xiaoling was still lying there, surrounded by her grandfather and the others. She realized she could control her sister's body, but even manipulating a single finger cost a great deal of energy. He was stunned by this soul's abilities. Can you bring Xiaoling back to life in this world? Just then, at the edge of the forest, a group of strangers appeared. Their target this time was that large, mist-shrouded mountain. The captain spoke up. Those are government soldiers sent to investigate the massive power source that was previously detected. Surveying the terrain, they discovered a small village where they could rest for the night. Beside the captain was a superhuman. He was one of those born with abilities surpassing ordinary people who had completed his awakening. His name was Yan Gaoyuan, a legendary first-generation superhuman. Deep in the forest, Tudu was still unaware. By now, Xiaoqing's soul had developed rapidly and could manipulate objects with her mind. He asked warily, "Can you sense anything?" Worried that the two sisters on the mountain had been attacked and killed by wild beasts, those villagers were determined not to give up. Guns and bullets are nothing to me, but confronting humans is never a good idea. He immediately released more mist, expanding his area of control. You all must also quickly adapt to this dense fog. Before long, this mountain will become our domain. Suddenly, he detected intruders. A group of people. Could it be the villagers who found their way here? Back at the edge of the forest, the gorge was too narrow for their vehicles to pass through. The captain ordered a few men to stay behind while the rest entered the village, telling them to remember to bring those things. The soldiers were alarmed. It seemed this mysterious item was the army's trump card, capable of fighting mutant beasts. It was a compact, heavy-duty, armor-piercing weapon specifically designed to eliminate mutant beasts. There's a mutant beast with 10,000 spiritual energy points here. Don't wait until you're dead to regret being lazy. Just then, a cry was heard up ahead. The superhuman detected it was coming from inside the village and went ahead to scout. He immediately channeled his energy, a golden aura surrounding him, as he prepared to launch himself forward. He leaped across cliffs in long bounds, heading straight for the village. Tudu sensed it all. He knew they weren't villagers, but someone with special abilities. And he wasn't alone. He didn't know what they were here for. Beside him, Xiaoqing was trying to practice controlling the other body, but it was incredibly difficult as the other consciousness relentlessly merged with hers. Xiaoqing, eat this. He gave her more life essence. He had already formulated a plan. By now, the superhuman had reached Xiaoling. He could sense the aura around her body. It was a national-level fire-type spirit power model, extremely rare. Its spirit power potion could draw all the spirit power from the air to replenish its wielder. Meanwhile, Xiaoqing had evolved to level 5, and more memory fragments began flooding into her mind from all directions. The superhuman began to use the spirit power potion. It looked like a red serum, with miraculous abilities. The moment it made contact, Xiaoqing immediately felt a source of power invading her. Xiaoling had been revived. My granddaughter, she's finally awake. Thank you. Thank you to the army. The villagers had also gathered here to witness this miraculous moment. But the superhuman was utterly bewildered. There was no way she could have woken up so quickly. Usually, it would take at least half a day. Xiao Qing's soul fusion process was complete. She just wasn't quite used to this body yet. No matter, I'll just have to adapt to this body for now. These people will be staying here for one night, which is enough time to gather some intel. Xiaoling's body began to move its lips, speaking strange words. Yes, master. Outside, the villagers began to throw a feast to welcome the army, and to celebrate the grandfather's family's good news. Xiaoling was now being controlled by Xiao Qing's soul. Alongside the king, she began to probe, asking why they had come here. The superhuman then introduced himself as Yan Gaoyuan. A spirit power satellite had detected a major fluctuation in this area, so they came to investigate mutated beasts. A spirit power satellite? To think that the technology here had developed to such a level. He immediately ordered Xiao Qing to ask about the spirit power satellite. She learned that it only monitors and detects the general area of fluctuation, but cannot pinpoint the exact location. This was also a good thing. He would try his best to hide, but if they were unfortunately discovered, he would have to risk it all. The next morning, the army bid farewell to the villagers to head up the mountain. The captain suggested that Xiaoling join the army, and her grandfather agreed. They set off on their way into the forest. The deeper they went into the forest, the thicker the fog became. A single misstep, and they could barely see each other. 2 hours had passed when Yan Gaoyuan, thanks to a cut on a tree trunk, realized it was the mark he had made. It meant they had been walking in circles this whole time. From the very beginning, they had been stuck in one place. He suspected it was the ability of a mutated beast. This Gaoyuan guy was really sharp. The dense fog, combined with constant illusions, kept leading them in the wrong direction. If you people are willing to leave this place, that would be for the best. But they continued deeper into the mountain. Using a special tracking skill, they gradually approached Ziyu. That's past the limit. He immediately ordered the Windwolf to meet them in battle. Although they couldn't see the beast, the menacing growls that echoed out caused the army to panic, and they hastily concentrated their firepower. The captain realized it was a wolf. Ready your weapons and stay alert. Watch all directions. Quick as the wind, a wolf appeared before them. It lunged and bit down on the captain, before he could even react. Only now did they get a clear look at it. It was enormous compared to a normal wolf. The mutated wolf began its counterattack. A volley of bullets was unleashed, aimed straight at the wolf, but something strange happened. Its fur was too thick for ordinary bullets, causing them to ricochet back, injuring many soldiers who were hit by the stray rounds. Let go with that filthy mouth of yours. Gaoyuan, fast as lightning, leaped up and kicked it square in the snout, causing the wolf so much pain it had to release the captain. He managed to catch the old man in time, and inflicted a rather nasty wound on the wolf, but it was determined to get payback on Gaoyuan. It immediately used its claws to slash a line across his abdomen, too fast for him to dodge. The honey badger, lazy at work but absolutely bloodthirsty in a fight. Seeing a fight, it immediately came forward. A mid-tier mutated beast, with a regional value between 4,000 and 6,000. It could shrug off bullets and artillery, with its strongest combat power being enough to threaten an entire armed squad, while a high-tier beast was enough to threaten the safety of an entire city. Knowing this pack was stronger than any mutated beast they had ever encountered, the captain immediately ordered the use of armor-piercing rounds. You filthy beasts, just die. A soldier immediately opened fire, launching an incredibly powerful shell straight at the honey badger. The speed of the bullet was immense. It took the beast by surprise, giving it no time to run. A massive explosion erupted. It's a direct hit. The impact created a brilliant blast and a powerful shockwave. They thought it was over, but no. A pack of windwolves appeared, and at the front was their big boss, the honey badger. It was seemingly invincible after that heaven-sent shot. They needed armor-piercing rounds, and now 3 more wolves have shown up. They were completely terrified, certain that they were going to die here. I warned you with the fog. You were the ones who sought death, so don't blame me. As if realizing the intent of the strange forest, Gaoyuan immediately ordered a swift retreat for everyone. Lead the army out of here. After a full day of fighting, until the crack of dawn, they finally escaped the forest, their bodies covered in injuries. As he walked, he cursed that damn honey badger. He only punched it once, and it chased them relentlessly. But it did end up taking 2 armor-piercing rounds, so it probably wouldn't survive. This time, they lost 6 senior brothers, a massive loss. The army had finally led the men away. Although he wanted to finish them all off to tie up loose ends, with modern technology, it would be hard to hide Ziyu. He had to evolve, to grow stronger, so that humans would no longer be a match for him. For now, they wouldn't dare to return. This was his chance. He turned to Xiaoqing and asked about the situation on her end. She was still maintaining the connection with the body. Xiaoling was on her way back to headquarters. Her lack of power had left her exhausted, so she had to take a short rest. He would later help her evolve, increasing her strength to maintain the physical connection for a longer time. As for the wolves and badgers, it was just as Cao Vian had predicted. They couldn't withstand that terrifying weapon and were severely injured. Because they were too weak, he was afraid that if he didn't control the released essence properly, their bodies would explode and they would die. Ziyu immediately used his roots to move large rocks over to his position, then used his strongest tree root to draw water from a nearby river, instantly creating a fairly large artificial lake. This should probably be enough. Finally, he dropped the life essence into the lake, where it immediately dissolved, radiating a brilliant light. Standing on the shore, the beasts drooled with desire, but there was only enough for the injured ones. This is their reward, so don't you guys even think about touching this lake. It was so much more convenient. A single drop of life essence had turned the entire lake into a small spiritual pond. Although it couldn't help them evolve, it was very effective for healing a large number of beasts. But there was something even better for healing, the spirit river, deep underground, but it was too deep for him to bring up yet. This thing, rich in spiritual energy, would later become a precious resource that many would fight to possess. Outside, the forest was another world, a modern city full of conveniences. After several hours in the vehicle, Xiaoqing was brought to a modern building, the Superhuman Research Institute. The director is waiting for us. Let's hurry inside. A mysterious bearded man was observing her from a distance, wondering how she would stack up against the others. The director was a large old man with a thick beard and hair. He had just heard Cao Vian's report on yesterday's reconnaissance mission. It seems you encountered a formidable character this time. Yes, that large mountain very likely contains a powerful mutated beast that can affect the human mind. Indeed, mutations are very difficult to explain, so let's temporarily designate it as a yellow alert zone. If there's any activity, immediately upgrade it to a red alert. In this world, zones are divided into two types. Green zones are safe living areas for humans. Yellow zones have a potential for danger and require high alert, reserved for military research and investigation. Next are the red zones, which definitely contain dangerous mutated beasts and require the use of force to suppress when necessary. The most dangerous of all is classified as a forbidden zone of life, the Great Baimu Triangle. No living creature can enter it. After being healed and evolving slightly, the honey badger had now reached level 6. Over here was the red fox, at the peak of level 8. Despite its small size, it was still itching for a fight, and as it lunged forward, the red fox gave it a light tap that smashed its head into the ground. Everyone around them cheered. What a beautiful strike. This was a rare moment of relaxation for them. Unwilling to submit, this king of persistence jumped up again, demanding a rematch, and only stopped when Ziyu jumped in to intervene. This one really has more guts than brains. Since then, no humans have come here again. It's best they don't show up here. He had to focus on mutating and increasing his power as quickly as possible during this time. Thanks to his tamed animals, who were quickly finding food, his progress had sped up considerably. Killed a mutated boar, plus 20 points. Took down a mutated rat, plus 30 points, adding another 172 points to his evolution score. After taking them down and getting the points, he had the others clean up the corpses. But this scene was honestly a bit disgusting. The golden monkey was different. It was completely covered in leaves. You hid in a corner to gnaw on his prize, so he quickly reached level 4, activating his innate talent. You used half of his evolution points to upgrade 25 vines to level 2, making them as hard as steel, capable of secreting an anesthetic toxin and life essence to recover from damage without costing any evolution points. Seeing the badger looking for another fight, you decided to test his new ability. The moment the vine touched it, the badger rolled over and passed out. But just a moment later, it stood right back up. What the hell? Why did it only work for a second? Is this system a scam? Give me back my evolution points. Xiaoqing, sitting above, laughed loudly and explained, actually, honey badgers are naturally resistant to poison, so no matter how strong it is, they won't kick the bucket. At this point, Xiaoling's body had awakened the fire element, which combined with Xiaoqing's soul and spiritual talent. With the addition of Ziyu's life essence, it wouldn't be long before a true god was created. He immediately gave Xiaoqing more life essence, helping her increase her strength for tomorrow's elimination match at the Research Institute. Ziyu's face turned serious. Tomorrow, you absolutely must get inside the military's inner circle. If anyone gets in your way, you know what to do. Today was the classification test day for those who had just awakened their spiritual power, gathered from all over the world. As Cao Vian led Xiaoqing, he explained, "This is the Superhuman Research Institute. Everyone has already gathered here." The director announced from a high platform, "The world is undergoing a mutation. Human survival is at risk, forcing us to change. That is the very purpose for which this place was created. Together, let us begin a new era." The crowd roared in unison, full of determination. The assessment began with a test of spiritual power. A proctor with a mohawk was recording the candidates' scores. Everyone was excited at first, but after seeing people get eliminated and sent back to farm vegetables and raise fish because their scores were too low, everyone's spirits sank, and the atmosphere became heavy. The mohawked proctor was extremely disappointed. "This is the worst class I've ever led." A while later, a beautiful woman named Yan Leng appeared. As Lang stepped up to the testing platform, everyone was stunned by the light radiating from the meter. 2,000 spirit power was an astronomical figure. The highest score of the previous generation was only slightly better. The next person was He Xiaoqing. She stepped forward and placed her hand on the machine. Time for the spirit power test. The guild master and Gao Yuan were observing everything from above. When asked, Gao Yuan confidently vouched for Xiaoqing's fire element abilities, certain her score would exceed 2,000. The moment the meter turned on, a blinding light burst forth. It flared up like a roaring flame, dazzling everyone nearby. But the rooster-haired man's eyes nearly popped out of his head when he saw the score had already reached 5,000. Everyone around was in shock at this insane number. And it didn't stop there. It kept climbing by the second until, as if overloaded, the meter shattered to pieces. "Sorry, I think I broke it." It was only then that Xiaoqing looked flustered amidst the dust and smoke. Stunned by the scene, the proctor wondered if the machine was faulty. "But this is the most amazing class I've ever led." Pulling himself together, the rooster-haired man announced that anyone with over 100 points would advance to the second round. This time, the examiner would be none other than Gao Yuan, who stepped out to stand before the dozen or so qualifying candidates. Lang sneered. "Don't tell me you plan on fighting all of us by yourself? That's right. This test is very simple. Anyone who can touch me will be considered to have passed. Of course, there's a 1-hour time limit. The weather is lovely today." Ziyu was leisurely enjoying the fresh morning air when he suddenly noticed something different in the wind. Could it be the killing intent of an enemy that he was only now sensing? He turned around to find it was the pungent smell from his badger's fresh droppings, probably meant as a fertilizer gift for its master. Sob. "You didn't even praise me, and you hit me so hard." It silently cursed, having such a cruel master. Back at the training grounds, Gao Yuan was wiping the floor with the trainees. He stood there, completely unscathed, goading everyone on. "There are only 10 minutes left. If you don't give it your all, I'll send you all packing." Xiaoqing had promised she would make it into the inner circle. As a superhuman, she couldn't hold back against Gao Yuan any longer. She unleashed her full power, erupting into a massive pillar of fire. She shot towards him like an arrow, forcing him to hastily dodge a blow aimed straight for his face, followed by another kick. Her incredible speed made it very difficult for Gao Yuan to evade. After a while, Xiaoqing managed to force Gao Yuan to leap into the air to dodge an attack. Now was the time to end the fight, since he no longer had a foothold in midair. But just as she was about to land a hit, Xiaoqing was struck hard on the head. It was Lang who played dirty, kicking Xiaoqing and sending her flying into a wall. The collision created a loud thud. It seemed Xiaoqing was seriously injured, leaving even Gao Yuan frozen in shock. Thanks to that, Lang was able to touch his shoulder, celebrating her victory. Just then, the time for the second round ended. Gao Yuan immediately rushed over to where Xiaoqing was sitting motionless. "She's bleeding. Get the medics in here, now." He screamed for medical assistance, but Xiaoqing didn't seem to cry out in pain, nor did she show any expression other than an ice-cold gaze. "If someone obstructs you, you know what needs to be done, don't you?" Her master's voice echoed in her head, snapping her back to reality. A deadly glint flashed in her eyes. The shameless opportunist walked over to mock her. "A score of 6,000 is only good enough to send you back to the countryside to herd ducks, little girl." The moment the words left her mouth, a pillar of fire erupted unexpectedly. Xiaoqing had instantly grabbed Lang by the head before she even knew what was happening. A loud crash resounded from the impact as Lang was slammed violently into the ground, kicking up a thick cloud of dust. Anyone who stands in my way must be eliminated. Xiao Qing gathered spirit fire into her fist, preparing a killing blow that made the other girl scream and beg for her life in terror. That's enough. Everyone passes. I just wanted to see you all use your full strength. Gao Yuan stepped in, terrified. She immediately turned back, flashing a friendly smile as if nothing had happened, leaving the opportunist on the ground, dazed, as if she had just returned from hell. If I had been a second later, I don't think I could have restrained that girl, the guildmaster above stammered loudly. Prioritize her. Prioritize this female student's training immediately. Winter arrived, and Xiao Qing remained the genius of the trainee class. She received systematic training, while Ziyu also continued to evolve, growing stronger in preparation for the next threat to appear. The scent of slaughter and blood once again filled the air. At a spirit stone quarry, all the mutated beasts were under attack. Lying scattered in a cloud of dust, they had been slaughtered by the Imperial Army, though they too had suffered heavy casualties. But they had finally gained control of this massive spirit stone quarry. Suddenly, a flash of light appeared behind them. Accompanied by a tremendous noise, a giant silver centipede emerged, its length estimated to be 100 miles long. The army panicked and began to flee, but it was too late. All that could be heard were countless agonizing screams for help before they fell silent. At that moment, the academy was in an uproar. The Northwest Regional Squad had just been completely wiped out while surveying for spirit stones. The mutated beasts with 4,000 spirit power had all been brought under control, but a Tier 2 superhuman centipede with 120,000 spirit power had suddenly appeared from underground and attacked. The superhuman team arrived at the scene immediately. Each of them looked bizarre and appeared to be very powerful, but witnessing the damage it had caused, they were quite unnerved. It looked like this opponent was going to be a tough one to swallow. In the forest, Xiao Qing was also urgently reporting to her master. He knew something big had just happened. He just never expected that humans would discover a natural vein of spirit stones. Spirit stones are a massive source of spiritual energy. Even a small amount can drastically increase a being's power. That must be how the silver centipede got so huge and powerful, reaching superhuman rank 2. According to the latest intel, it's already taken out more than half of the superhuman squad. Ziyu grew worried. The situation had changed completely. By human calculations, the centipede had a power level of over 120,000, while Ziyu's was only at 16,000. Facing it now would be suicide. He'd just be feeding it. So, he ordered Xiao Qing to return and gather more intel. For now, he had to focus on farming more evolution points. But this was a bit much. The falcons had lured back a mutated ant queen, and right behind her was an entire swarm of winged ants in hot pursuit. Still, a horde this size would be more than enough to evolve a few more body parts. Moments later, the winged ants were dropping like flies, and his points skyrocketed. He dumped every last point into enhancing his root system. Instantly, they burst from the ground. The outer red bark began to peel away, revealing a tough, black core underneath. The pain was excruciating, but he had to endure it if he wanted to stand a chance against a powerhouse like that centipede. Far away from there, the honey badger lay motionless. He was gravely wounded, lying in the snow. It turned out that while he was out hunting fish, he'd been ambushed by a mutated turtle. The turtle's speed was nothing like its namesake. The wolves heard a blood-curdling scream and rushed over, but they were too late. They brought him back to Ziyu. It was clear this new enemy was overwhelmingly powerful. The fact that the honey badger was even still breathing was a miracle. He immediately gave him a drop of life essence, took a quick dip in his pool, and then ordered Feng Lan to go find the turtle and lure it here. Chihu, you go with her. This thing could hide in a thick fog without me detecting it, and it even injured my honey badger. It's definitely not weak. I can't let it grow strong enough to become a threat. Just then, Xiao Qing returned. She reported to Ziyu that the Research Institute had discovered that spirit stones also had the ability to block spiritual energy detection. That was how the centipede was able to evolve in secret. It had been growing for a long time, without anyone noticing. As he analyzed the situation with Xiao Qing, a startling realization hit Ziyu. The underground spiritual river. Its immense spiritual energy must come from flowing through that vein of spirit stones. That's why it's so rich. He immediately called off the revenge mission and mobilized all his forces, splitting them into 3 groups. Chihu and Feng Lan were to head to the battlefield and track the enemy by scent. Bai He and the falcons would investigate from the sky, checking suspicious locations like cave fissures and even the mouths of waterfalls. As for Qinger, she was to follow the tunnels he'd already dug and investigate upstream. He warned them all, remember, no matter what happens, you report back to me first. Absolutely no direct engagement with the enemy. After a long journey, Xiaoqing finally flew down into the underground cavern. She was stunned to see how her master's roots had already spread everywhere. Following the spiritual river, she continued upstream. Just as her master had predicted, the place was filled with spirit stones. But how do I get them back? She wondered. As she was pondering this, a loud roar echoed from deep within the cave. She could feel the spiritual energy pouring off it. It completely dwarfed even her master's oppressive aura. As she got closer, she realized it was a mutated turtle. This had to be the culprit that injured the honey badger. Just as she was about to get revenge, she sensed a strange plant. It was bloodgrass, a semi-sentient plant that grew from the spirit stone vein, and the mutated turtle was guarding it. She knew she had to get her hands on it. It could be a massive help to her master. Flying in, she carefully plucked the bloodgrass. And that's when the turtle went berserk. It kicked a pile of spirit stones at her, sending dust and debris flying. She immediately used her mental enhancement, redirecting the rubble right back at the turtle. But it was useless. With a single stomp of its foot, the beast shook the entire cavern, the tremors reaching all the way to the surface. Then, it launched itself after Xiaoqing. Having already secured the bloodgrass, her flight speed was simply too fast for it to catch up. It stomped its foot again, and instantly, a pile of earth shot up, forming a wall to block her path. But as a psychic type, she easily phased right through it, leaving the bloodgrass behind. She had to get it back. Besides, she had successfully lured the turtle out. Letting it escape now would ruin everything. Suddenly, a streak of light shot past her, piercing straight through the rock wall. It was the honey badger he had snuck away from Ziyu. He was determined to pay back the bastard who ambushed him. Using his rock-hard head, he slammed straight into the turtle, making the beast roar in dazed agony. But the badger was bleeding too. The impact hurt him just as much. This time, however, his speed had increased dramatically, and he continued his missile-like attacks. Combining his charge with his sharp claws, he inflicted several injuries on the monster. The thirst for revenge gave the honey badger a terrifying strength. He attacked relentlessly, giving the beast no choice but to lie there and take the beating. Once he got tired of ramming, he switched to biting. With his sharp teeth, he lunged for the turtle's neck, but was easily thrown off. This was truly an unbalanced fight. One was only at level 6, while the turtle had already reached superhuman rank 1. Despite the disadvantage in level and size, he didn't flinch for a second in front of the massive enemy. His burning hatred triggered a breakthrough mutation, pushing him to a whole new level. Faster, stronger. Now he could dash like lightning and change direction in a flash, leaving his enemy completely bewildered. But the turtle's defense was no joke. Seizing an opening, it lunged for the badger. But Xiaoqing, they coordinated their mental powers, controlling countless rocks and stones to bombard it from all directions. Seizing the opportunity, the honey badger pressed its advantage, using its incredible speed and sharp claws to relentlessly wound the turtle. Finally, it clamped down on its opponent's head and unleashed a torrent of fire, roasting it alive and causing the turtle to roar in agony before collapsing. Victory was at hand, but a sneak attack from behind sent it flying straight into a cliff wall. The turtle was completely unscathed. It seemed the last attack only stunned it for a moment. The badger had exhausted all its strength on that final, decisive blow, but it refused to give up. Its mind went blank, all consciousness lost except for a single-minded goal: fight and get revenge. Suddenly, a devastating punch slammed straight into the turtle, sending its massive body flying, crashing into the cliff. Had the honey badger unlocked a new ultimate skill? No. You had finally arrived just in time. He had sensed the battle and came to the rescue. Using one of his roots, he channeled the power of the battle vine snake. The power was immense. It was time for the badger to rest. Yu himself was now entering the fray. Seeing this, the beast charged forward in a frenzy, terrifying Xiaoqing. The earth rock elephant turtle's defense is high, and you should absolutely not fight it head-on. As he finished his thought, he struck with a sturdy root, shattering one of the turtle's horns with a single blow. If it hadn't dodged, its whole head would have been smashed to bits. Carrying the honey badger was difficult, so he tossed it to the red fox, who had just arrived in time to catch it before speeding back home to treat its wounds. As for the turtle, you made short work of it. In no time, it was bound tightly by his roots, suspended in mid-air. For an earth attribute beast like this, leaving the ground meant its defense was reduced to 0. A series of piercing strikes made it howl in pain. For the final blow, he activated the battle talisman long snake fist, skewering it right through. its tough shell, and lifting it off the ground. The system notification immediately rang out. Earth Rock Elephant Turtle defeated, plus 800 evolution points. But what he was really interested in was the massive pile of valuable spirit stones. This is all mine. And I even get the blood herb growing on the turtle's back, too. With such abundant resources, it was time for him to play miner. To make it easier to transport the spirit stones, ZU dug a cave that connected directly to the ore vein, allowing the animals to haul it out. With their strength, it only took half a day to fill the entire storehouse with spirit stones. It was finally time to evolve. He was anxious to see what his next form would look like. After evolving continuously for several days and nights, ZU had truly transformed into a monster. His roots could shoot into the sky with lightning speed, snatching entire flocks of migrating birds. Every animal in the forest was now within his grasp. He had now officially conquered this vast territory. His color had changed, and his gaze had become far more ferocious. Looks like a new paint job really does increase your damage, especially a white one. He opened his status window. Lifespan increased by 500 years, and all his stats had skyrocketed. But he was most surprised to find he'd gained the ability to manipulate the earth element. Let's give this a try. Instantly, a cluster of small mountains erupted from the ground around him, though the attack range was only a little over 100 meters, since his roots couldn't help him walk. Manipulating the earth like this might be the key to moving around. He dumped all his remaining points into his regeneration ability. This was a defensive skill that could save his life. Immediately, everything around him began to grow at a dizzying rate. The regeneration ability had such a massive effect on his surroundings that he decided to test it by severing one of his own roots. In just a moment, a new one grew back from the wound, just like a lizard's tail. When Xiaoqing returned and saw her master's new form, she was overjoyed. His spiritual power had reached 200 to 300,000. Any assassin trying to mess with him now would just be a mosquito-biting steel. Next, he decided to evolve his pets using the Yanzi flower, a plant crystallized from the earth element, and spirit stones. The moment the mutated buffalo ate it, it evolved to the entry stage. It even unlocked its spiritual sense. The energy from this flower far surpassed that of life essence. The Ninetales was stuck at level 8, just short of the required spirit stones. Meanwhile, at North Mist Ravine, a group of people stepped into the dense fog of the forest. A guy with glasses was getting spooked and suggested they turn back, but the buff guy named Su Hu was confident since they had Tianqin with them. This beautiful woman was a mutant with the gift of keen intuition, allowing her to sense danger. But her own twin peaks were just as dangerous. The other two mutants in their group were Leng Feng with the shadow talent and Qing Gang, who possessed the full-body enhancement talent. Suddenly, Tianqin detected something approaching. It was indeed a wild beast, but the thick fog only revealed a pair of terrifying, glowing eyes. Quick as a flash, Qing Gang took it down. It turned out to be just a level 1 mutated wild boar. Clearly, this fog wasn't normal. It instilled a sense of fear in them. Still, they decided to continue scouting. Tianqin sensed another threat, but this time, something felt very wrong. "We need to run. We can't stay here. Go, while we still can," she warned in terror. But just as the words left her mouth, a level 7 mutated white tiger leaped out, blocking their path. Tianqin froze in horror, watching as her friend was snatched up by the beast with blinding speed. Instantly, Qing Gang enhanced one of his arms and charged forward to launched a finishing blow at the monster, but Thien Cam stopped him, as if she already knew the outcome. Just as predicted, he couldn't even take one kick from it before he was sent flying, knocked out cold. The terrified man in glasses began firing his small pistol frantically. The kid was helpless as he was swallowed whole, but he was too scrawny to even get stuck in its teeth. Lan Feng leaped forward to shield Tien Cam, urging her to escape and warn the army while he bought some time. He was immediately pounced on and swatted out of sight. Watching them get taken down one by one, she was frozen with fear, silently praying for a miracle. As if in answer, a long, black object emerged and coiled around the white tiger like a python constricting a mouse. The shock was too much for Thien Cam, and she slowly passed out. Now like a little kitten, the white tiger looked timidly at the powerful figures around it, a far cry from the ferocious beast that thought it was king of the jungle. One of the new abilities of the living essence is to increase the level of intimacy with the target. He decided to test it on this cat. Suddenly, it began to evolve rapidly. Its eyes were no longer terrifying. Instead, they looked much gentler. It immediately approached and began licking him. It was clearly effective. Now to see how it works on humans. He ordered the 3 survivors to be brought over. Help! Thien Cam screamed in terror the moment she woke up. This is bad. Why is there such a terrifying monster here? Tudu ignored her and injected her with a drop of life essence. Suddenly, her mind was flooded with apocalyptic visions. The figure before her became terrifying, and she began mumbling things no one could understand. But just a moment later, she came to, her eyes now shining with a brilliant new light. Tudu was overjoyed to have subjugated a human, and a beautiful one at that. He decided to test her by giving her an order. Every command was met with compliance. The opportunist then told her to take off her clothes. After a moment's hesitation, she refused, crouching down in shame and calling him a pervert. It seemed his control wasn't absolute. He decided to subjugate the other two, build a home for them here, and train the beasts, which would lighten his own load. And so, the facilities for his new ecosystem were fully constructed, with each area specifically planned out. With the minor tasks done, he focused on the main event, evolution. He consumed 1,000 points to upgrade the earth element. As expected, the higher the level, the more expensive the cost. But he was loaded with points, so he immediately enhanced it. Suddenly, a terrifying energy began to radiate from the ground. The moment he tested it, plots of land suddenly shot upwards, causing a slight tremor. This enhanced ability was far stronger than before, but its range was still only around 100 meters. He spent another 3,000 points to level it up again. He could now manipulate all earth and rock, enough to raise a 100-meter-high wave of earth and bury an entire city. On a day when the seas were calm, a bizarre tsunami suddenly rose up, crashing into a city before the people could evacuate. Water flooded their homes, bringing with it terrifying sea monsters that attacked the people, who could only watch helplessly as they were devoured and their land was invaded. A crimson octopus had reached supernatural rank 1, and in the distance was something even more powerful, a golden-striped python that had reached supernatural rank 3. An utterly catastrophic disaster from an underwater kingdom had befallen the city. 5 hours after the disaster, inside a pure white palace, chaos reigned as they scrambled to process the news. A high-ranking leader was on edge, as more than half of Kim Sun City had already been destroyed. The death toll was still being counted. His secretary reported that the mutated sea beast was a serpent monster, about 100 meters long and weighing nearly 70,000 tons. As for its spiritual power index, the lowest reading was 170,000, and the highest was 250,000. In an attempt to kill it, we launched 3 nuclear missiles, but only one hit, and it has already returned to the sea. Its current status is unknown. The Great Ocean is a huge threat to humanity, and the deep sea, especially, will only become more terrifying in the future. Meanwhile, in the forest, loud noises echoed. Lan Fong was extremely tense, struggling as if fighting a heavyweight opponent. Thien Cam repeatedly warned him to be careful and not to make any mistakes. Thon Quang was also giving it his all, appearing to have reached his absolute limit. You'd think it was an intense battle, but it turns out they were just cooking, teaching, and sparring with the animals, beginning their training. At that moment, Tuthon returned just in time to report to Tudu about the sea monster rampage. A total of 3 missiles were fired. 1 hit, but the other 2 were diverted when the monster used water pressure to alter their trajectory, allowing it to escape into the sea. It has the entire ocean to hide in. While we have nowhere to go, it's time to build an underground kingdom. He immediately began capturing countless mutated beasts, gathering them in a large pit he had already dug. He then subjugated them one by one with his miraculous living essence. He added a level 6 wild boar that had awakened its innate talent, spiked armor. It could one day join the badger and the golden monkey as one of his 4 great pillars. Injecting a crocodile caused it to evolve into a primeval emperor alligator. Tiu Tan recognized the species from a professor's book. It was a ferocious beast that possessed the most savage ancestral gene. It immediately charged toward the red fox, demanding a one-on-one fight. It seemed they were itching for a showdown. The alligator opened its massive maw and roared, unleashing a powerful shockwave directly at the red fox, sending dirt, rocks, and trees flying. But with its agility, the fox leaped up to dodge everything, trying to close the distance. Quick as a flash, the alligator moved to intercept, chomping down hard on the fox's leg. But the red fox didn't seem to be in any pain. It immediately rolled underneath its opponent, did a flip, and threw the alligator clean over its back, slamming its opponent to the ground and causing a massive tremor. Clearly, its combat experience gave it the upper hand against a stronger foe. With the crocodile quickly subdued at its feet, the red fox used all its strength to pry open the beast's foul maw. Then, it spat out a scorching flame, firing it straight inside and creating a deafening explosion. But it seems this monster is incredibly tanky. The attack did nothing to it. You could say its strength was on par with the red fox. It too has now reached level 9. Its innate talent is the angrier, the stronger, and it possesses a keen sense of smell. More time passed, and in a flash, the new year arrived. By now, the forest buffalo and the red fox could talk, but the golden monkey and the honey badger couldn't sit still and learn for more than 5 minutes. Among the 3 humans, Thon Quang was the most energetic, diligently hunting beasts and creating new items for everyone. He also relied on the spirit pool's water to accelerate his power breakthroughs. Today, it seemed he wanted to approach ZU for some reason, but was blocked by the forest buffalo. Go back. The area ahead is not a place you should be. Suddenly, it heard the divine tree's voice permitting the man to enter, so it cleared the path for him. In truth, he came today to request joining the divine tree's faction. Of course, our protagonist disagreed and sent him away. He wouldn't accept him, knowing that human nature is incredibly greedy and vile. No matter how many of them there were, he needed to observe them further. Today, Xiao Qing had news. The silver centipede she mentioned before had been captured. It has now become an experiment subject for humans, so she plans to absorb its soul force to break through to the first-tier realm. Are you sure about this? He warned. The soul of a first-tier transcendent is no laughing matter. There's a chance you yourself could be devoured. Hearing this, she felt a bit hesitant. In the distance, a cloud of dust billowed. It seems a conflict was taking place. The level 7 honey badger was bored again, and always challenging the new beasts to a duel, and this time, it was the Emperor Croc. They were all growing stronger, which worried him. Perhaps it was time to let them go out and train. That evening, he gathered them all. He called a meeting to discuss an important matter. Now that you have all reached the peak of the entry tier, I can no longer protect you forever. You must go out into the world to train, but not all of you. He announced that the level 9 beasts would be allowed to leave, except for this goofy tiger. The ones leaving were the Crimson Tiger, Nugu Man, and the Emperor Croc. From now on, I will rename the Crimson Tiger, Jiwei, and you will be the leader of the group. The Forest Buffalo is ranked 2nd, named Niu Mang. The White Tiger is 3rd, and although the Emperor Croc is stronger than the White Tiger, it arrived later, so it's ranked 4th. In the future, you will be the 9 great demonic beasts under my command. Except for human cities, you are forbidden from going to other places. You are free to go wherever you please. However, the quiet Niu Mang didn't want to be far from his master and asked to stay. He immediately agreed. As for Jiwei and the Emperor Croc, they had to be sent out into the world to truly unleash their potential and progress. Inside the research institute, Xiao Qing stood before the silver centipede, which was currently being dissected for experiments. Only its head remained, yet it was still alive. The power of a second-tier transcendent was truly immense. She approached and tried to persuade the silver centipede. You understand, don't you? Instead of living this pitiful existence, become my strength, and we can live on together. The scene shifts to a place far from the forest. The 2 released beasts split up to claim their own territories. Jiwei headed for the mountains, while the Emperor Croc dived into the deep sea. This was their true environment. Back in the forest, the tiger was still diligently studying, yet it still understood nothing, and even started hitting on its teacher. On the ground, the mole fox was still transporting spirit stones, while the badger father lazed about on top, enjoying the ride. He immediately got his butt spanked red by ZU and was forced to work. Above, our protagonist was practicing the ultimate skill, willow catkin flying, gathering spirit energy into his vines. He fired sharp projectiles, but they didn't seem very powerful. He enhanced the willow catkin flying dagger to level 2. It cost 2,000 evolution points. Pay to win is clearly the way to go. A barrage of energy beams was unleashed with a single move, slicing through several large rocks up ahead. It looked quite powerful, but it consumed a lot of energy. Clearly, it was just a backup skill. He decided to grit his teeth and spend another 6,000 points. Upgrading the skill, Thick Fog Diffusion. A roar from a large white beast rang out, frightening Tianqin. That sounds like a dragon's roar. Just as she finished speaking, a white dragon appeared and shot past, startling them both. Little did they know, this was an illusion created by the level 3 fog, which could materialize his thoughts into reality. Suddenly, a flash of light from below ground made ZU jump. What's happening? The bottom of my pants is glowing. The light emanated from Xiao Qing's soul, which was enveloped by the silver centipede's primordial spirit. So it's Xiao Qing. She's breaking through. It seems she's absorbing it back at the Superhuman Research Institute. At the institute, everyone was in a panic as well. They were shocked to see Zhao Qing breaking through even while she was asleep. Whether she's unconscious or sleeping, she's advancing now. Don't forget, old Zhao's son was the same when he advanced. Quick, go get the highest grade fire spirit stones. Z. You quickly pumped in more life essence, which, combined with the spirit stones at the Institute, caused the breakthrough process to accelerate at a dizzying pace. Success. A new Zhao Qing appeared, shining more brightly than ever before. At the Research Institute, they quickly took her to the infirmary to rest. The academy director really brought back a monster this time. In just a short half year, she's already broken through to the first tier. The rock python barricade that Ziyu had built was cracking and violently collapsing. Zhao Qing woke up and showed off her powerful new ability, forcing Ziyu to quickly stop her. All right, that's enough. You don't have to explain anymore. I can see just how powerful you are now. Not only did she break through, but she also transformed that former Silver Centipede general into her own personal weapon. So, it's your pet now, huh? Well, I've got something to show you too, Ziyu said, then instantly created two massive beasts made of mist to show off to Zhao Qing. What an interesting new ability. These mist creations can deal physical damage, but on the other hand, they're completely immune to any damage themselves. By wrapping mist around tree branches, it can trick others into thinking a new creature has been born. This new creature has an unpredictable form and, combined with its illusions, can create fakes that are indistinguishable from reality. Master, use a spirit stone. Not only can it conceal the spiritual energy link, but it can also strengthen the mist beast. Hearing this, he tried inserting a spirit stone into the newly created beast. Instantly, it solidified, becoming a real monster, and its spiritual energy was completely hidden. In the sea near Jinshan City, the military had arrived with the most advanced weaponry, determined to push back the sea monsters and drive them back into the ocean. But it didn't seem very effective. Fighter jets continuously dropped tons of bombs on them to no avail. A coral crab emerged. Ignoring the gunfire, it continued to advance into the city, an unstoppable threat. Today, Zhao Qing brought her master a gift, an extremely rare mutated golden ant she got from the professor. It truly gave off an extraordinary feeling. It had awakened its innate talent at just level 1. He immediately gave it a drop of life essence, and its eyes lit up. The two were overjoyed to see it revived. He added another drop to see how far it would evolve. Suddenly, a brilliant pillar of light erupted from it. It mutated into a half-human, half-ant beast, covered in golden armor with 6 sharp legs. He tried attacking it with a barrage of flying vines, but it was incredibly agile, dodging every single one. Even direct hits were easily blocked, proving its strength was also terrifying. Not bad speed, and its strength can't be underestimated, even though it's only the size of my hand. It slid to its knees before Ziyu. Benefactor, thank you for not abandoning this humble one. I swear to follow you until death. Ziyu was surprised that it could communicate telepathically at only level 5, while his level 9 fox still hadn't learned how. Seeing this, the fox felt wronged and ran away, crying pitifully. He agreed to let it join his forces and named it Shan Guang because its whole body shone with a golden light. Dismissing it, he thought to himself that Shan Guang had witnessed countless of its brethren die tragically in the laboratory. He worried that as it grew stronger, it would be unable to suppress its rage towards humans. But at least it won't turn its blades on me. Over with DE, it had accumulated enough kills to advance to a higher level. Instantly, a pillar of light shot out from its body, straight into the sky. But this place wasn't safe. The Security Bureau had issued a red alert, detecting a large-scale energy wave with spiritual power as high as 24,000. A beautiful woman immediately ordered the location to be sent to the Air Force, authorizing them to eliminate it on site. Minutes later, all forces were mobilized. A fleet of planes and military weapons flew straight to the location, confirming it was a mutated crocodile beast. It immediately hurled a massive rock straight at a surveillance drone, causing panic at the command center. Screen number 2 has lost signal. Screens 1 and 3 are down as well. Notify the Air Force. Send in the advanced troops for a direct kill. At the same time, prepare long-range missiles. Under no circumstances can we let it escape alive. Just then, Zhao Qing got intel on the internal situation and rushed back to report to her master. DE's location has been discovered. Right now, they're dispatching 10 planes, along with a team of superhumans to attack. He suspected the Federation's aggressive response meant there was a secret regarding this beast with atavistic genes. He ordered Zhao Qing to continue scouting, then called his kestrels to help bring DE back. Intercept the fighter jets following DE and be extremely careful of snipers. Meanwhile, E was taking on a barrage of gunfire. All the planes opened fire, determined to destroy this monster. The air units are luring the giant crocodile into the plains. We'll land there and cut it off. In the command room, a superior wondered why they were wasting so much firepower and didn't just chase it into the red zone to let it die. We can't do that. The Research Institute just confirmed it possesses an atavistic gene. Some time ago, an atavistic sea eel caused widespread devastation, and the one from Yinghua Kingdom destroyed an entire coastal city. If we let this one escape, it will become an even greater disaster in the future. On the battlefield, the planes were constantly being attacked by the crocodile, which hurled countless rocks and debris at them. The collision of giant rocks and missiles created a massive cloud of smoke, severely obscuring their vision. Seizing the opportunity, it quickly fled into the forest. They quickly spotted it and received orders to use ice rounds, determined not to let it escape the kill zone. The moment a round hit its tail, it began to freeze solid, the ice spreading upwards. The crocodile has stopped. Its muscles are frozen. Continue firing. Unleash everything you've got. A massive volley of ammunition rained down, filling the entire sky. A torrent of ammunition rained down on the Emperor Croc. Everyone watched with bated breath, as it seemed victory for the army was drawing ever closer. Enduring the relentless bombing, the Emperor Croc roared in agony. But suddenly, they detected other creatures approaching. There were 8 of them, all with level 9 spirit energy. They were moving so fast that their species was unidentifiable. All aircraft were immediately put on alert. Targets were approaching from the southeast at a speed of Mach 5. Before the pilots could even react, the creatures shot past, utterly obliterating their jets. The entire squadron was wiped out, and all contact was lost. The entire operation was a failure. They finally identified the high-speed creatures, peregrine falcons, and now, these flying beasts were all at level 9. Against them, the Air Force stood no chance. Back at the North Vu Gorge, the Emperor Croc was gravely injured, bleeding profusely. Tiem Kwang saw its injuries and knew it was the humans' doing, but no one could tell what was going on in its mind. Suddenly, Du shot a vine out, snatching something right in front of the Emperor Croc's face and startling the beast. It was a micro-recon drone. It had followed the Emperor Croc all the way back here. Looking at the wounds caused by the armor-piercing rounds, he advised the Croc not to try and tank those bullets with its body again. Its body was riddled with bloody holes. The Emperor Croc reported that the enemy had used ice bullets, which had completely immobilized it. Otherwise, it claimed, the armor-piercing rounds would have been useless. It then spat something out as a gift for the divine tree. A snake egg. The egg's mother had awakened the ice element, so this little one would surely possess the same power.